The doctor pulled a cockroach out of the girl's nose. The nurse was in shock.
A cockroach? What?
But how did the cockroach crawl into her nostril? Through a CT scan, the doctor discovered the girl had a skull fracture. Cerebrospinal fluid had leaked into her nasal cavity, attracting the cockroach to crawl in. But why did the girl have a fracture? After further asking, the girl finally admitted she was a victim of domestic violence. Afraid to go home, she went to a homeless camp, but she was brought to the hospital after having seizures. The nurse called the child welfare department, hoping they could take her in, but the girl was afraid of being sent back to face more abuse. So she secretly ran back to the homeless camp. After their shift, the two went to see her. The girl was lying on the ground, looking very weak. They brought her some essentials and antibiotics, and taught her friend how to care for her wounds, hoping she could survive in this harsh place. The plane was about to fall down.
It's flipping!
The pilot was trapped in the cockpit and unable to move. The firefighter had to comfort him while asking someone to bring a stretcher just as they were about to pull the man out.
Wait! The heart! This is a transplant plane!
But they decided to pull the man out first. The plane suddenly dropped several meters. The firefighter quickly jumped out. Seeing this, the captain had no choice but to go in himself. He put on his gear and dove into the plane, quickly retrieving the organ box. Just then, the support line snapped. Fortunately, the team leader was fine, and the organ box landed safely. The man kidnapped the cop's son.
Hands. Hands!
Her husband was puzzled, wondering what grudge the man had against his ex-wife.
I shot off his junk.
I'm sorry, you did what now?
His magic wand. I shot it off.
The husband laughed. It turned out the man was a rapist. During one arrest, the cop accidentally shot his ball. Since then, he could no longer be standing up. In his quest for revenge, he hid the boy in the walls of a half-finished building, then lured the cop out for a duel, tempting her to fire her weapon.
Damn it! Wasn't loaded. What? Where's Harry? Tell me where he is!
But the man died, and the trail went cold. 9 people were in a car crash, but only 8 were found. Where did the 9th person go? Firefighters rushed to the scene, and after searching through 100 bushes, they finally found the last person. But when they were lifting him onto the ambulance, he was still talking about being late for work. Then he passed out. The others weren't in great shape either. One person's ankle was bent at 90 degrees, another was pinned under a motorcycle, and one even got thrown into a tree. The firefighters acted quickly, but some of them had internal injuries. If they didn't get to the hospital in time, they wouldn't make it. Meanwhile, the firefighters got news that the man who passed out didn't survive, but because he signed up to donate his organs, the other 8 people were all saved. What do you think of this? A tornado appeared over New York, but upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a vortex created by killer bees.
Some bee nader.
The killer bees attacked a man mercilessly. He screamed for help. But the woman refused to save him, and they couldn't escape either. The bees quickly covered the entire vehicle. Some even entered through the dashboard. The mother urged her girl not to move, but the girl couldn't resist and swatted a bee off her face. She was allergic, and being stung made it hard for her to breathe. The mother quickly called 911 for help. The dispatcher guided her on how to administer an injection. The girl soon recovered, but then the mother got stung as well, revealing that her allergy was hereditary. Just as the mother was nearing collapse, the firefighters outside drove the killer bees away and successfully rescued both of them. Do you know how killer bees came to be? The firefighter got an emergency call, but found out the caller wasn't just a coworker. The reason for the call was even more surprising.
You called 911 for this?
Turns out, the cop was trying something new with her boyfriend and accidentally locked herself to the headboard. The only key was 10 meters away on a belt. Her boyfriend wanted to call the police, but she was the police chief. Rather than have other officers find out, she'd rather stay locked up. In the end, she had to call the fire department and asked specifically for her friend to come. Looking at the two on the bed and the key on the floor,
The key! You need the key!
across the room to get you the key.
though her friend gave her the key before leaving.
I just want to get a cell. No, you really need to go.
What a funny day.
A man got stuck in the guillotine, narrowly avoiding a complete beheading. Fortunately, the blade jammed, preventing a successful cosplay execution. Nevertheless, the man suffered a neck wound, luckily missing the vital arteries. The paramedics first tried to reassure the man, and then brought cutting tools. Even with the combined efforts of several people, the blade remained unmoved, bringing the man's wife to tears on the side. So, the rescue team had to pick up the saw and cut, but the man angrily shouted for them to stop, because he needed the guillotine for a performance. The rescue team ignored him, cut the fixed point, used a spreader to open the gap, and finally pulled up the blade. The man was at last rescued, and as the paramedic looked at the wound on his neck, she couldn't help but feel a pain in her own neck.
Tens of killer bees danced in his mouth. The firefighters were shocked. Turned out, not long ago, a woman had crashed head-on into a large truck. That truck was carrying tens of millions of bees. The truck driver was stung to death by the furious bees, and the passenger next to him was also been attacked, his face swelling like a pig's head. Chimney quickly fetched a suction device and used it on the man's mouth. It took a full 666 minutes to remove all the bees. Then, the medical team began rubbing the man's chest.
Come on. Come on.
He finally regained consciousness.
There we go. All right.
But the first thing the man said upon waking was,
"Why do I taste honey?"
Chimney thought, you guess why? The woman had bruises on her face, but when she saw her husband's angry expression, she could only say she was fine. Just then, firefighters got a call. A woman covered in blood opened the door, but said she was fine. As the firefighters were curious, a man suddenly stepped out from behind her and slammed the door shut. The firefighters guessed the wife must have faced domestic abuse, so they knocked on the door again, lying that they needed a signature to leave. After saying that, the man opened the door, and the female firefighter quickly separated the two, making the woman sit on the couch. The male firefighter pushed the man into a corner, demanding to know what he did to the woman, but the man claimed nothing happened, and the woman denied the domestic abuse when asked.
This is my place, and that's my wife, and she says she's fine. Well, she doesn't look fine.
But the woman still insisted she was okay, so the firefighters had to leave after signing a consent form. But they didn't expect that. Right after dropping off the injured person at the hospital, they saw the woman again, and this time she looked unrecognizable. The firefighter fell into deep thought. On the way back to the station, he returned to this family's door, lying that he forgot his equipment inside. Then he went to the door, and when the husband opened it, the man pushed him inside, throwing a punch right away. Finally, the husband gave in and promised he would never abuse again. Do you think the husband's words are trustworthy?
The woman was just applying makeup in the car when suddenly the driver slammed the brakes. The eyeliner pencil went straight into her eyeball, causing her to tremble in pain. The paramedic comforted her to stay calm. The driver rushed over, eager to deflect blame and explain the situation. The woman urged the paramedic to remove the eyeliner pencil quickly. Faced with such an injury, the paramedic was uncertain how to proceed and opted for initial wound care before rushing her to the hospital. The paramedic administered a pain reliever, providing temporary relief to prevent further harm to the eye. The paramedic searched the car for a cup of coffee.
Hey, that's mine.
Fill the CFD.
After disinfecting, they carefully secured the eyeliner pencil in place using the cup and then wrapped it with gauze to complete the dressing.
Ambulance. Kathleen, can you walk?
I think so.
Okay, slowly. Step